So in this video we're going to try to tear down this Hazet 166N to its bare parts for restoration. So before that, I'll talk to you about a couple of things. First thing is, if you see an Assistant with folding arms like this, then that means it has to be a 166N. So none of the other models had this 45-degree fold down. If you have one that doesn't have folding arms but has removable arms and it has slots on the side here to insert those, then that's I believe a 166TS, and they made that a little bit into the 1970s. You come across an Assistant with this yellow stripe here, what that means is that this model has the two-step system, and that feature was introduced in 1982. So if you see this, that means this has to be built after 1982. It might be hard to see from here, but this one actually says made in West Germany, or W-Germany. And one of the final keys you can look for is on the Hazet badge. If it has a lowercase a, they changed their logo in 1962, so you can date the unit using that as well. So I think the first thing I'll do is actually remove these extendable arms, and there's a 6mm socket cap. This is actually a pretty interesting assembly. It's a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. So you can see there, see that little detent? As I screw this knob, that detent is actually pushing out. And over here is where, so that's basically how you lock it into place. That's a pretty cool feature. To raise and lower these handles, you have to make sure that this is loose enough for that to push down in there, and it feels pretty sticky right now. I don't know if there's supposed to be a spring in there or not. So I guess we'll go ahead and, while we're down here, we'll take this off. So you can see there's some machining done on the end of that. Actually, it looks like it removed a couple threads. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that or not. It looks like we got some issues right here. At some point that broke off. There's a roll pin in there. As you can see, I guess that's to remove the knob assembly. So I could see right here there's actually crimps. So I guess at one point these were two pieces. This piece would have been, looks like machined, because you have to make this angled hole, which is not with modern CNCs that's not too hard, but you imagine back when they designed this. So there's the other pieces of that knob. So it doesn't look like we can get that any further apart. So we'll go ahead and take the other side off here. Boy, man, that's tight. Okay, so yeah, that one actually had some thread locker on there. And I don't know why the other one wouldn't. Alright, so now that we got that taken care of, we should be able to remove the top drawer here. So you see the way these work, there's a little latch over here. Press that. Some pretty complex mechanisms going on here. Let me zoom you guys in so you can see it a little better. So this is actually a pretty complex mechanism. So you got this right here, which is actually a locking pin. So that's a security feature. It basically just locks it in place using some holes in the pole. But this over here is the actual release for to move the shelves up and down. So all that is that's just a piece of metal. It's acting as a spring. That's a pretty ingenious solution there. And by the way, this is all metal right here. There's not really any plastic. There's not much plastic at all in this assembly. You can see right here these bushings appear to be plastic. You can see here the chain is actually connected to the not this media drawer, but the bottom movable drawer. So that's basically where the two-step process comes. You lift this middle drawer, and then you lift the top drawer, which will actually lift both of them. And you can see it looks like this is actually riveted, but the mechanism doesn't look too bad. But it is all gunked up. Okay, so yeah, that's the top tray assembly. This tray should just basically pop right out. We just have to feed these chains down through the hole. And just like the top tray, this one has some switches on the side. You have to pull. I guess we might as well pull the each of these trays does move. Looks like a couple of them have been bent into place. So it does look like we got a little bit stuff going on there. So as you can see here, the mechanism is a lot different than the top tray on this one. So it looks like there are some plastic bushings, but that shouldn't prevent us from pulling this out. So it looks like, yeah, this tray is totally floating. There's nothing holding it in at all. Now that's actually where the chains start. So why don't we go ahead and pull those chains out, pull those cotter pins out. Seems to me like that would be a lot of weight being put on those cotter pins, because they're not that beefy. We'll have to do some math and figure out what the maximum weight load of those would be, because basically these pins are holding up the entire top two drawers. So it's interesting how they have a different type of bolt here on this one caster. That's kind of strange. It's a 10.9, so that's like a grade 8 equivalent bolt that they put on there. Yeah, I wonder what these three holes are for. They're just like a drainage. So it looks like to remove the final pole here, we have to, there's just a through bolt. And for all you adjustable wrench fans out there, yeah, this is how I always learned to use an adjustable wrench. Is you never turn it, you just basically use it as a anti-spin device. But I guess everybody has their own opinion on adjustable wrenches. So that's just a grade, looks like a 8.8 bolt. Looks to be about an say M6. And this should just lift right up. So we'll go ahead and get the other side too. And as you can see here, that's got to be a record for the amount of debris embedded in a tire. So these are the Continental tires. And from what I heard, you can't get these anymore. They now come with Tente casters or wheels. So let's see if we can get these front casters off. So that's kind of a strange bolt to be put on there. Look at the size of the head on there compared to the size of the bolt. They call that, what they call those structural bolts. A big beefy washer on it. Looks like one of the two casters had like a little rubber pad underneath. I didn't see it on the other one. Alright, we got it off. If we take a look at this main tub, I guess you could call it. One thing I want to mention is this. It's like there's like a badge that says caddy on here. So I'm not sure if that's original or not. But it looks like it's on there pretty good. I might end up just leaving that. But yeah, it looks like we definitely got some work to do, and a lot of this is just grease. Not really much rust on there. So we definitely got some cleanup work to do on this thing. So I do want to check out some of these assemblies, see if there's any more to take apart here. Because I noticed on the shorter pieces, they're a lot looser. So I think that there's a plate in here, and then there's a spring pushing up on that, and I think it may actually be a tension spring pulling that way, because it wouldn't make any sense to have it pushed out all the time. You'd never be able to retract it back in. But I was hoping to get this little piece off, but this crimp, I don't think that's going to be possible. So you're going to have to just basically flush this out to try to get that spring working the way it should again. And then these little pieces right here, I guess that's one of the positions for one of the trays. So as for the casters or the wheels, as you can see here, this was definitely in a shop with a lathe, because those look like chips that you'd see coming off a lathe. They must have had a lot of weight on this thing for those to be pushed in there like that. And that's probably why this is so kind of loose. So the wheels that they sell today are actually a lot different from this. They're actually I think like a polypropylene or something wheel from Tente. So you can buy the replacements, but they're not these Continental tires. And I'm not sure if you can still get these I don't think you can get this size anymore from Continental. So it's kind of a debate about whether I should try to find a different tire and restore this, or just go with the replacements. But with some convincing, I got the tire off. So we'll have to see if you can even get a replacement. So as for the lockable casters, there's a lot of rust in there. These aren't in too bad a shape, so I'll have to see if maybe I can just replace the wheel and keep this part, because it just needs to be oiled, it feels like. So now we're on to some fun stuff here. So this is the top cover, and I already showed you guys before the locking mechanism. So that's the unlock position. So those are some pretty beefy bolts there. I don't think anybody's gonna be breaking that. You know, I was trying to figure out why they used rivets here, and then I realized it's probably just for it was probably for security reasons, because if you put a screw there, somebody could technically take off those 8 screws and break in. So I'm sure that might have been one of the reasons. I'm sure production cost might have been another, but there is enough beef in this holder to actually put a tapped hole in there. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. So I think I am going to drill these out so I can actually get this piece off, because it does look like there's I don't think it's rust, I think it's just gunk. It's just gunked up. I think first thing we'll do is we'll try to take off this bar, and it looks like there's just some pins there holding that in. Add a little bit of oil there to that, just in case there's some corrosion in there. It looks like it's actually a 4mm. So there's that little roll pin or spring pin, some people call them. So go and do the same thing on the other side here. And that looks like we got one of these star clips. These can be kind of tricky. So what I typically do is just bend it very slightly. All right, here we go. So yeah, that just looks like a stud there, welded on. And that's just a piece of galvanized metal. I'll go ahead and remove this trim. Kind of gunked in there. It's fighting me. And this is like this is definitely reusable. It just needs to be cleaned. And it looks like there's actually two pieces to this. There's this little black piece in the middle. Yeah, it's hardened up a little bit, but it's still not cracking, so that's why I say I could probably reuse it. It probably just needs some conditioning. Alright, so let me go drill these out, and we'll take a look at these assemblies in more detail. So I got those rivets. So these were actually steel rivets. Originally thought they might be aluminum. It's a little bit tougher to get off, but I think we just about got them. But looks like there's some springs under here. There's some studs on the bottom side here that actually go into some springs. So let's take a closer look at this mechanism. So first thing we got here, this is the actual spring. Just this piece of metal that opens and closes the latches. As you can see there, it looks like we're starting to get some surface rust. And this should be the pin. So let's go ahead and pull these springs out. It looks like there was some grease in there at one time. And it looks like we got some nylon bushings. So there's the latch, or at least the pin for holding up the trays. Here are the bushings. So yeah, definitely a lot of grime and gunk. Looks like I still got to punch these out. It looks like we got some writing there. 60708. So the next one is this intermediate shelf. And we got a couple of these that are stuck in there. So you can see this has rivets as well, but it has a totally different mechanism. A lot simpler. All metal. So I think we'll do the same thing. We'll drill out these rivets, pop those out. So I got those other ones out. You can see they're quite a bit different from the ones we saw before. Looks like I've still got one more rivet. Not really sure what this little compartment is for, because that's actually covered up. It's almost like they intended to use that for something, but then changed their mind. So it seems like these rails should come out. I'm not sure if they were crimped on, but you can definitely tell behind them there's paint. So I'd like to remove them if I can. Yeah, I don't know. I think there may be a spot weld in here somewhere. because I can kind of get the corner to move a little bit, but so it looks like I'm going to have to leave those on. And we'll take the rubber off this one as well. So now we're on to the last of the shelves. So this one just has some plastic bushings, which we should be able to just use these cobras to push through. Those look to be in fine shape. I think we can reuse those. So this trim didn't have anything in the middle. So one of them had a black middle piece and one had a yellow, and then one didn't have anything. This banding was a and there's the joint right there. So I bet you this stuff's probably like on a gigantic roll, and they just kind of like, the guy knows how long it needs to be. He cuts it, spot welds it, and then it gets painted. Looks like afterwards. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. One of the things I might actually do with this is I might actually do a total 3D model, but I need to learn some of the sheet metal techniques in SolidWorks. I basically skipped over that chapter at the time because I had no use for it. But there's a lot of sheet metal work in here. I can see this support is a separate assembly that's actually tack welded on there. Same with this. So this is a pretty complicated toolbox. There's a lot of pieces here, more than I expected for just this little trolley. And I think in the next episode we'll start cleaning these things. We'll have to wait till there's a nice day outside. I'll probably just take them outside and scrub them or power wash them. After that, we'll have to start looking at doing some body work. I can see a couple of dents, and I'm definitely no expert in doing sheet metal body work, so it might be something I can learn. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I'll catch you guys next time.